name is Robert Frost. Some of you may have read my poetry in high school. Have you? No doubt you were forced to by some English teacher, but I hope you enjoyed it all the same. I've always said to be a poet is a condition rather than a profession. It's a condition that I was afflicted with, being moody and prone to depression. The epitaph on my grave said, "He had a lover's quarrel with life, but I also had a lover's quarrel with a person." And that's what brought me to your part of the world. Would you like to hear about it? All right. I was 20 years old. I had just been expelled from Dartmouth. I was poor, jobless, and unpublished. Still, I proposed to my sweetheart, Eleanor, but she rejected me, no doubt for the reasons I've just named. Anyway, I was crushed. Being a sensitive young man, a poet no less, I was, as I have written, half in love with easeful death. And I cast around for some dramatic way to bring my miserable young life to a close. Glancing at an atlas, I came upon the perfect poetic place to reflect my state of mind, and with any luck to end my pain, the dismal swamp. Thus decided, I was in a frenzy to get to this mystical place on the North Carolina-Virginia border. I took a train from my home in Massachusetts and then took ship from New York to Norfolk and then walked from Norfolk to Deep Creek, where I entered the dismal swamp. Once there, I marched resolutely into that dark, mosquito-ridden bog. Wearing my street clothes and carrying my satchel, I must have looked ridiculous as I stepped into that soggy heart of darkness. I walked deep into the swamp, guided only by moonlight. When I reached my objective, I stood there in the gloom and marveled that I was still alive. I don't know what I expected the dismal swamp to do to me, swallow me whole, perhaps. But anyway, finding that I was still very much alive and still very much with that hurt that only true love can bring, I saw the light. It was not the light of a sudden epiphany, or even the light of swamp gas. It was a light coming from a boat on the dismal swamp canal. A boat filled with duck hunters. A boat filled with inebriated duck hunters from a place called Elizabeth City. They asked me to join them, and I did. In the company of my newfound comrades, I soon lost my melancholy, but began to fear for my life. It soon became apparent that these drunken fellows didn't need ducks as an excuse to fire their guns. And when they tired of firing their guns, they went back to drinking. And so went the night. The year was 1894. And I had the opportunity to write about this 60 years later in my poem called Kitty Hawk. Would you like to hear some of it? What?
Yes.
Kitty Hawk, oh Kitty Hawk, there was once a song, who knows but a great emblematic ditty. I might well have sung when I came here young, out and down, along past Elizabeth City. 60 years ago I was, to be sure, out of sorts with fate, wandering to and fro in the earth alone. You might think too poor-spirited to care who I was, or where I was being blown. Faster than my tread, like the crumpled, better left unwritten letter I had read and thrown. Getting to be befriended has so often ended any melancholy gotterdammerung that I might have sung. I fell in among some kind of committee from Elizabeth City. Each and every one loaded with a gun or a demijohn. Neither body asked if it was a flask, out to kill a duck, or perhaps a swan over Currituck. My newfound friends brought me to Elizabeth City and then on to Kitty Hawk. There I met a Coast Guardsman walking on the beach. And he told me the story of Aaron Burr's daughter Theodosia. If you've been to the Richardson Poole Glove House, then you would have heard this story told to you by Betty Freewater Poole. And perhaps you saw her mysterious portrait. I wrote a little bit about that in my poem. Would you like to have that as well?
Yes.
Why not? But that night I stole off on the unbounded beaches where the whole of the Atlantic pounded. There I next fell in with a lone Coast Guard on midnight patrol, who as of a sect asked about my soul, and where all I'd been after poet's sin. Did I recollect how the reckless wreck Theodosia bare off this very shore? 'Twas to punish her, but her father more. We don't know what for. There was no confession. Things they think she wore still sometimes occur in someone's possession here in Kitty Hawk. We can have no notion of the strange devotion Burr had for his daughter. My duck hunting friends dropped me off in Elizabeth City, and having decided to live after all, I was anxious to return to my home in Massachusetts. I met a group of hobos who showed me how to jump a train and ride the rails. I got as far back as Baltimore, then I contacted my mother for a train fare back to Massachusetts. Home is a place where when you get there, they have to take you in. And so I was. My story has a happy ending. I got the girl after all in spite of my dangerous trek to the Dismal Swamp. Eleanor and I were happily married for more than 40 years, and every poem I wrote to her. In some ways, my trip to North Carolina opened my young eyes about life. In the end, I never got so dismal that the dismal got to me. Good evening.